Social media tyrants declare all-out election war. General Flynn's trial is finally over. CCP influence operations targeted Congressman Swalwell. And where is the COVID restaurant data? Welcome, friends, to the Buck Sexton Show. Now it is official. I have been telling you for days about the way they are constricting, like the tyrannical snake they are, constricting around free speech, eroding and squeezing beyond recognition the First Amendment, and doing so in the most pernicious of ways. And here we are now with the official declaration from YouTube, which you have to understand, YouTube is owned by Google, and it has a parent company, a company known as Alphabet. And this is the most powerful internet company in the world. It's actually even more powerful than Facebook or Twitter or any of the others. The only thing that comes close to it really is Amazon. But Google is effectively an internet monopolist. They can demonetize you on YouTube. Sure, they've already done that to me, but they also can make sure that you are dropped down in search results. They can decide what is seen about you and what is not seen about you. Enormous amounts of power. And not only is this a private company that led the American people and led the regulators in D.C., led Congress to believe for a long time that it was effectively a neutral, algorithm-based internet search and communications company. I mean, it does a lot of things, right? Your Gmail, your Google searches. I can't even name all the things that Google's involved in right now. But they've let you know because they've put out on YouTube, while we're still trying to figure out what's going on in this election, there are lawsuits currently out there in court that are making certain declarations. If you say that you support those lawsuits, that you think they have merit, that you think they're true, you run the risk of being canceled. And this is not theoretical. This is not a conspiracy. Official statement coming out from YouTube this morning. We just shared an update on YouTube election efforts, including how we're handling community guidelines. Our policies, this is a quote from official YouTube public affairs. Our policies disallow content alleging widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of a historical U.S. presidential election. We allow this type of commentary for current elections as election officials work to finalize counts. December 8th was the safe harbor deadline for the U.S. presidential election, and enough states have now certified their results to determine a president-elect. As such, starting today, we will remove new content uploaded on or after December 9th, 2020, alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. For example, we will remove videos claiming that a presidential candidate won the election as a result of widespread software glitches or counting errors. This content that includes sufficient context may remain, similar to how we allow COVID information that is sufficient with ESDA content, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If you say that this election was stolen now on YouTube, you will get your content pulled down. You will be demonetized. Now, you may think, and this is a big problem we have. So much of conservative media, we have these places we go. We have these areas where we think, okay, at least there's some safety there. Talk radio is really the ultimate example of that. We use the oldest method of mass communication short of the printing press in existence to great effect. And we have one cable channel. I know there are a couple of others, but they're not in the distribution that they need to be in 100 million homes to compete. We have one major cable channel, and that's it. And a lot of you I know are, I've seen your notes. I've seen your messages about what's going on over there. So I'm aware of your thoughts on that. And the rest of the media ecosystem which determines what people are reading in the news, what people think is going on in the country. How dangerous is COVID? You have no way of knowing. The only way you could know is by reading media outlets. The only way you can actually get a real sense of this nationwide is newspapers, websites, TV, radio, etc. That's true of all of us. This is the flow of information, which means it is our mass perception in the public of what's happening in this country. And the most powerful companies involved in that are straight up saying, Biden won, it's over, shut up, or we'll come after you. They're straight up saying it. And if you think that there are some people that are going to withstand this with their websites or withstand this and continue on as is, at least on these platforms, I got to tell you something, it's not going to happen. Because they will do this. They can demonetize. YouTube doesn't need conservative creators. Doesn't need them. Doesn't care. Same thing with Twitter. They don't need you. They don't need us. Very wealthy companies that can withstand this. So what happens is also other companies that rely on Google for their ads, other media organizations that have, enormous budgets and have a lot of payroll to meet, they're going to start falling in line. This is like a dictate from on high. This is essentially the left-wing controlled internet telling you it's over, shut up, you're not allowed to talk about this anymore. If you do, we'll hit you. And then what happens is they don't hit the people that go along with it, and everyone forgets, why is this person growing so fast online? You don't think that people are cutting side deals with these companies? You don't think that there's controlled opposition that are so-called conservatives who are basically never Trumpers, but they make deals with these internet companies so that they don't get touched. You can see who's upset about this and who still profits. Who still grows and has no problem here? Who's getting throttled and who's not? Oh, yes, there's money here. There's influence. There's prestige. There's a lot at stake for people. So watch very closely who speaks out about this and who just has the follower count keep going up and up. Who's just minting money while being a conservative. That's the game. This is how they run the most effective influence operation imaginable on a massive scale. This is how the left wins. This is how they win. I don't have an answer. I have a rallying cry that we fight, that we talk about it, that we raise the alarm, that we demand the repeal of Section 230. People say, it won't do, it's not perfect. Well, this is awful, what we have right now. The advantage, the internet monopolists, yeah, maybe they'll have a competitor 10 years from now. What do you think the country looks like in 10 years if you can't say things that you believe to be true on the internet? And remember, the creators that they go after, the content creators and the pundits and the commentators and the reporters, all they have to do is shut them down. And then how do people that are trying to operate at their jobs that aren't in the media, how do they get the information they need to know what's really going on? You know where they get it from? The websites that aren't throttled, the websites that aren't shadow banned, the people who are all of a sudden having all their stuff shared freely. We had just begun to go toe-to-toe with the left-wing mainstream media apparatus the last 10 years or so. Because people realized that half the country wasn't being properly served. I mean, there's a reason that Fox News is a ratings juggernaut. And there's a reason that even though there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in conservative media, there's always these hurdles. You can't get the right sponsors. If you're a major corporation, you won't go with them, right? That they won't do that for you. You can't get Mercedes-Benz if you're a cable news channel. They have all of the, on the right, on the left, you can be lunatic MSNBC and, Amazon will sponsor you and all this. These are all of the impediments. So you want to know why a party like the Democrats, who are for defunding police, socialism, abortion for all 9 months of a pregnancy, toxic identity politics, open borders. You want to know how they're able to say that they now won the election? Because of what I'm telling you. This is how they win. We have to fight against this. We have to understand these mechanisms. I know there are people out there who want to say, oh, but there's someone in the Trump administration, and now this is 8D chess, and we're gonna. No, I'm telling you that's not true. They think they've got us. They think they've got us. You're going to see a drop off. You're going to see people all of a sudden. There'll be this focus on other things, palatable stories for the right. But not digging in on, I dig in on COVID as hard as I dig in on the election stuff. We're completely being bamboozled. We're having the wool pulled over our eyes as a nation. People are losing their livelihoods. They're going bankrupt. Their lives are being ruined. And they're not going to be fixed in 90 days when the vaccine starts to hit critical mass. Lives aren't going to be fixed. They're not going to be made whole. So that debate, that argument, that stopping the madness has to happen now. They're shutting it all down. I'm trying to come up with better answers. I know there are these platforms, but they're nascent platforms. There are alternatives. The Trump administration still has the power of the executive branch. Maybe there are ways that they could use it to some effect in the meantime. I know they're focused in on what's really happening with this election. But keep in mind now, the people around the administration who are trying to get the word out, who are trying to talk about, and they do it by keyword now. So if you talk about, let's say, suitcases and Georgia, you are targeted. And there are people who build their whole businesses on this. Google can destroy, name a website that is a favorite conservative website of yours, with the possible exception of foxnews.com. Google can basically destroy them. Cut off their ads, drop them down in search. Facebook, the same thing, can destroy them. When I worked for a website years ago, the Facebook traffic that was taken away from the site when they changed the algorithm was catastrophic. Led to a lot of layoffs. This is real power, and it's power to determine the conversation. It's power to tell you what you can say and to tell you what you'll see and what you'll know. The internet was initially this free and open playing field for ideas, for communications. That's what it was. That was the promise of it. I'm going back now to the 90s, to the CompuServe and AOL era, right? The internet was this place that put us all in connection with each other, but also gave you access to this repository that was endless of ideas and information and facts. And now the left, because they are collectivists and because they are inherently totalitarian in their mindset, because they think that they have all the absolute answers and no one else can have alternative answers. Now they want to use what was the greatest apparatus for the spread of information and the increase of communications. They are using it now in a way really similar to China to control your mind. You don't think that's what's happening? They are programming you. They're showing you what you can see. They're showing you what you can read. And anyone who tries to get in and tell you, hold on a second, that's not the truth, they shut that person down. They make them obscure. They make it so that they can't get followers. They can't pay their bills. Maybe they got to find a new job, a new industry. Maybe they got to learn to code, go work for Google. I know for the right, for conservatives, we're generally just culturally in our media tastes, we're not as tech involved. Somehow we don't have a single major, and all props in respect to Parler and Rumble. I'm on them. I use them. They're great. But we don't have a single major critical mass social media platform that, never mind, is right wing, that is devoted to the ideals of free speech. For those of you who are saying you want to go listen to like some local radio guy right now, is like, well, we're going to win and we're going to win and just yelling all this stuff. Let me tell you, we're not going to win if this continues. We cannot beat this machinery's message unless we attack the machinery itself. You want to see how this election fight goes and want to be able to win the election fights that will come after it? We must address this problem. It is essential. And it doesn't matter if you're on Twitter or Facebook or these things. It's the most powerful tool for controlling the conversation nationally that exists, bar none, no question. And it has been now weaponized officially against Trump, against his supporters, We are in COVID lockdown, and now we are in election information lockdown. Doesn't really feel like America, does it? It's going to be a very different holiday season than we're used to. We all know that. There's all these travel restrictions that people are putting in place now, limitations on who you should see, and no matter what, it's going to be tougher to see people this holiday. But you can still reach out, bring them some joy, show them that you care with Bloomsy Box. Now, these are incredible flowers. I've got them in my home. I've sent them to my girlfriend. I've sent them to family members. And it's great because you can also get a Bloomsy Box subscription. They come straight from the farm. They come early. They're picked at just the right time and sent to you, so they'll stay fresh. When you see the look on someone's face that you care about when these flowers come into bloom, they'll send you a selfie with them in the background. You do a FaceTime. It's incredible. All you have to do is go to bloomsybox.com, use the promo code BUCK. That will get you 15% off. So send someone this holiday some love with Bloomsy Box. BLOOMSYBOX, bloomsybox.com. Use the promo code BUCK. Send someone flowers this holiday. Brighten up their Christmas, their Hanukkah, their New Year's with Bloomsy Box. Remember Russia collusion? This was a truly bizarre, deranged, evidence-free theory that the Trump campaign and then Donald Trump himself worked with the Russians to somehow steal the 2016 election. This was treated as gospel by the mainstream media for 3 years. I mean, they still do now, but this was something they continued on, pretending was true. Was there any effort ever to penalize people online for the lies of Russia collusion? Has any scrubbing of social media accounts or websites occurred where they said, you know what, sorry, that was all a lie? And that was used as a political weapon to undermine the sitting president, President Donald J. Trump. Was there any of that? No. But now that they think the power is transferring to their hands, in fact, they're ensuring the power will transfer into their hands with moves like this, now they're going to want to use it, and they want to engage in reprisals. They're looking to make examples of people, too. And they pretend that this is around some principle. I mean, why aren't we having these social media CEOs sit before the American people and explain how Russia collusion is not something that was ever throttled, banned, shadow banned, shut down, demonetized, never led to any of that, even though it was all lies. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, go down the list, PBS, all these different channels and stations, just full of insane lies about Russia collusion. Oh, any day now. Oh, Rachel Maddow built a huge audience at MSNBC, lying to them like a bunch of idiots about how Trump was a Russian Kremlin asset. Never apologized for it, never penalized for it. So I want us to understand what the new rules are. They can lie about the president, the sitting president. They can call him a traitor. They can call him a criminal. They can call him anything they want. And they can use the media ecosystem as an echo chamber so they convince enough foolish Americans that this is actually true. But on the other side, for real questions like what are we doing on COVID and what happened to this election, they shut it down. So not only will they prevent us from getting answers, they use that same information control, that same apparatus of propaganda to lie to our very faces. They say they're doing this to prevent lying and to protect facts and accuracy. Until they all have to be held to account for Russia collusion, this is a farce. Once you learn about home title theft, you realize how easy this crime is for the bad guys. Then you realize you got to take action because the usual identity theft services do not protect you. Here's how home title theft works. The bad guys, cyber thieves, they find your home's title online. Then they use a quit claim deed to kick you off, put themselves on, and start taking out loans against your home's equity. You often won't find out about this until you receive payment demands in the mail, perhaps even a foreclosure notice. You have to take action now to create a virtual barrier around your home's title. Go with the experts I trust at Home Title Lock. All you have to do is go to HomeTitleLock.com, use the promo code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. You can also check online to see if you're a victim of this crime and don't even know it. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. That will get you 30 free days of protection and the ability to check to see at the site if your home's title has already been compromised and you don't know it yet. So go to HomeTitleLock.com, use that promo code RADIO. All right, now for some good news, although in a way it's also troubling that it came to this. I told you that General Flynn was pardoned by the president. You no doubt have seen or heard that a lot of places. It was pretty big news when it happened. And in response to that, you had Judge Emmett Sullivan produce a 34-page opinion from the federal bench that shows you what final stage Trump derangement syndrome looks like. General Flynn is an innocent man. They ruined this guy, and they used the law to settle political scores against him. They ruined this guy, or tried to, based on lies, deception, the destruction of his constitutional rights. It was all politicized. It was a partisan hit. That's what they did to General Flynn. We all know it. This is very clear. But it took a pardon from the President of the United States to get a federal judge to stop going after him. And then he wrote a 34-page opinion from the bench where he talked about how Flynn is guilty and the administration shouldn't have done this. And this is, yes, they have the power, but this is a miscarriage of justice, like a lunatic. He continued a prosecution by judge after the Department of Justice, which is the prosecutorial arm of the federal government, dropped the case and told him we never should have brought this case. But he thinks he's respecting the system by trashing it because he doesn't like a decision that they made. It was their decision. What is this guy doing? Yes, General Flynn is no longer in criminal jeopardy, and he has been officially pardoned. But we also need to know that Judge Emmett Sullivan is a Trump deranged lunatic, and he should be, and I mean this, removed from the federal bench and disbarred forthwith, right away. That's what should happen. This guy is scary. Do you think, if you are a person known in public life as a conservative, as a Trump supporter, do you think that you could get a fair trial in Judge Emmett Sullivan's courtroom? This guy's a federal circuit judge in D.C. It's a pretty big deal. You think you get a fair trial? Absolutely not. This guy's a disgrace to the judiciary, but he shows you what we're up against. This was unheard of. When the DOJ says the judge doesn't get to pick somebody, does a judge get to say, you know what, I don't like this guy. I'm going to bring him into my courtroom and prosecute him. It's basically what they did to Judge Sullivan. To General Flynn. Completely insane. But I'm very so it's good that General Flynn is no longer in criminal jeopardy, but they dragged him through 4 years of this madness. 4 years of this insanity. For what? For what? To make an example of him. And unfortunately, that still stands. Do you think that now people might have second thoughts, especially to support Trump if he's leaving that Oval Office in January, which, I'll leave it to you I'll leave the percentages to you, but certainly is a possibility. I think we could say it's a probability. I've been saying that for weeks. If that happens, do you think that people are going to be a little bit concerned about what could happen to them if they go forward and support Donald J. Trump? You think that may be something to consider here? Because I do. I think there are going to be a lot of people who say, what are my risks here? What's going to happen? Here is the Attorney General for New York State, Letitia James, who is straight up threatening, like a mob boss, threatening prosecution of Donald Trump by her state when he leaves office. Play 7.
It's important to understand he is pardoned from federal crimes, but he is not pardoned from state crimes. Last year, I introduced a bill in the state legislature which would close the pardon loophole so that individuals such as the President of the United States would not evade justice. It's important that we have this check on presidential powers. And in the legislature, the state legislature, I'm so happy they passed that bill, and it is now the law in the state of New York. President Trump cannot avoid justice in the great state of New York.
People have asked me, should the president pardon himself? I think the answer is yes. What happens if he writes a preemptive pardon for himself and his family members? Think about this. What's the downside? Oh, everyone's going to scream, oh, look what he did. He's a criminal. They're saying that anyway. There's no fair-minded person who looks at Trump and looks at what's going on right now and says, yeah, he'll be left alone in private life. They'll back off. Don't let him go lead a quiet family life with his kids and grandkids. Nope. No. We chanted lock her up, and then Hillary evaded justice, even though she did break the law. They will go after Trump and they'll fabricate crimes. That's how they play the game. We play, two-hand touch. We're playing flag football here in politics. They are putting on brass knuckles and hitting us in the back of the head when the ref is not looking. That's how they play the game. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get another lesson in that here very soon. And they're going to go after people with prosecutions. They're going to go after people with the IRS. Oh, but they talk of unity. Remember that? In their little self-congratulatory delusion. We just want the American people to unify. But remember, New York State charges, it is true. You can only pardon yourself from federal charges. You cannot clear yourself, even as president, from state charges. And nor can he clear his family members from that. They've been talking about this for a long time. Now, you might say, Buck, but can they really get him? I don't know. Can they fabricate a crime? They fabricated Russia collusion. But even if they can't convict Trump or any of his family members, they can certainly investigate them, hound them, go after them, harass them. I think Ivanka Trump, just what was it, a week ago, was deposed having to do with inauguration spending? What? Yeah. Do you think there'll be any, let me ask you this, do you think there'll actually be any federal criminal charges about the inauguration spending? No. Not against Ivanka, not against any of the Trumps. Not going to happen. Why? Well, they've got somebody, the DOJ, who wants to harass them. It's like it's auditioning for a bigger, better role in a Biden administration. This is what they do. It's appalling. Look, Trump is, and I want to be very clear, Trump is not giving up the fight. He's staying in this till the absolute very end. I mean, I think he's going to fight this until the day that the moving trucks arrive. And God bless him. Why not? Why pretend that everything is fine here, and why pretend that the Biden administration, in any way that these Democrats have acted in good faith, they put forward this quasi-senile clown. And we're all supposed to say, yeah, you guys have the best interests of the nation at heart. Sure. I don't think so. Not gonna happen with me. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. Here's the president, though, just letting everybody know and doing a little bit of trolling. Play 11.
The next administration will be the one ultimately that implements a lot of the distribution of this vaccine and will oversee much of the future of the way Operation Warpspeed goes forward. Why not include members of the Biden transition team as part of this summit that you're hosting today?
Well, we're going to have to see who the next administration is, because we won in those swing states, and there was terrible things that went on. So we're going to have to see who the next administration is. But whichever the next administration is will really benefit by what we've been able to do with this incredible science, the doctors, all of the people that came up, the lab technicians, the work that's been done is incredible. And it will be incredible for the next administration. And hopefully the next administration will be the Trump administration.
We'll see. But I like that he still goads them. And he's showing them he's not backing down one bit. They think they can tame Trump as he's in these weeks of December before what could be a presidential transition. And they're wrong. He's not going to back down. He's not going to give up. And what you see now is more and more reason to continue on with that fight, even if we don't win. We stay unified and we show the other side that we got some backbone. We can dig in. We're willing to take this all the way, to take this to the mat.
You know, what the president isn't doing is telling Americans what they should do in the meantime. While we're waiting for this vaccine to be distributed to the general population, he is not communicating the message about what they should do to curb the spread of this. That's what Biden is talking about. Biden is talking, obviously darker terms, obviously not putting nearly as much emphasis on the vaccine, but talking about the near term, the next few hundred days in which basically Americans still have to do a lot to protect themselves until we can get that inoculation.
That's right. This is what you're going to be told every day from now until the end of January. We haven't been told enough. Do you feel like that? We haven't been told enough about social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands. I mean, here's a question that I asked yesterday on Twitter, before they banned me. But here's a question that they ask on Twitter and that I asked on Twitter, rather, and I got to tell you, as I look at it, it's amazing to me how unself-aware so many people are. I said about this COVID stuff that we're being told all the time, I asked the very real question, does anyone have an explanation of how it's possible mask compliance is the most widespread it has been all year in this country, but we now have more COVID cases than we did in March of 2020 and April, after months of viral spread with no mask mandates and almost no public masking at all? And I said, please answer me before Twitter bans this question, because as we know, social media companies are run by idiot libs and they can't think for themselves. Okay. So what is the answer to this? What's amazing to me, and this tells you so much, is how many people respond to this with, because it's blah, 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 you idiot. And there's 100 different people with 100 different reasons why I'm an idiot for not knowing what their approved consensus, left-wing Fauci seal of approval answer is. It's because people aren't masking up enough. Really? So they didn't really think about the question very much, did they? We went from basically no masking in March and April, very, very little, very intermittent here and there, and certainly no mandates. We went from that to 80%, 90% mask compliance, and somehow cases are higher. Some of them were saying, because cases are not hospitalizations and deaths, you idiot. Really? Hospitalizations and deaths are also higher. But you go down this list because Europe figured it out and we didn't. Really? Germany just said its all-time one-day death record from COVID. Germany is a sixth the size of the United States. They had almost, 500 plus dead in one day. So it's, 2,000 or 3,000 dead in one day in Germany if you made it comparable to the U.S. population. Oh, and I thought the Germans figured out the whole thing. I thought the Germans had the answer. It was those dumb Trump supporters. It is so dangerous and so wrong for people to think it's okay to blame disfavored political groups in the United States. And in this case, half the country that supported Donald Trump. They're the reason for this virus. This is idiocy. There's no basis for this. And they can't answer these questions when you bring them up. And my favorite, of course, as I've said, is it's so obvious. you idiot. And then they tell me something, and I say, well, your other liberal blue check friend over here who believes in the science has a different answer. So which one of you is correct? And if it's 100 different things, maybe it's not obvious, is it? All you have to do is ask the questions. You don't even have to take stands right now. Just ask the questions you're not supposed to. And when you get unsatisfactory answers and you're told, shut up, peasant, do what you're told, you know exactly what you're up against. Anyone can observe that what the media, the left, the libs have been saying was going to save us. We can control this. We can flatten the curve. Clearly, that is not true. Clearly. It is called an observation of reality all around us. I know people here in New York who are getting COVID. I have friends in LA who have just gotten COVID. I know people all across the country are seeing cases and hospitalizations spiking even more than they did the last at the beginning of the pandemic. So this is now the so-called second wave that we're seeing, right? This is the second wave. But if we have gotten so much better with our PPE, and remember, we have better treatments for this now. So somehow the virus has spread more, and it's spread more efficiently. Okay, maybe there's a mutation that's led to the increased spread. We don't know. That's a real answer. I could handle that as an answer. But wear a mask, like what Cuomo says all the time. That's not a real answer. That's not me saying that it doesn't work at all. I'm just saying the reason that we have this huge spike in cases is not lack of mask compliance. That is madness. People are masking up all over the place. I know people who are very mask conscientious. They're sick or they've gotten sick. So what are they? Is it their fault? Oh, no, it's only a Republican's fault. When a Republican gets COVID, it's his fault. Right? So when Rudy Giuliani gets COVID-19, the media says, see, he's reckless. But when Jared Polis, the governor of Colorado, a big mask maniac, when he gets it and his wife gets it, it's, oh, gosh, it's a virus. I guess it can really spread. Gosh, this is real contagious. This is tearing us apart. We should be unified against this. We should be united as a country. This is an external enemy that is mixing in all over our society, this virus. And instead, people have used this as a wedge. They've used this for further division, and they refuse to deal with what we can all see and observe. They are lying to you, and just asking them to explain themselves results in them saying that you are the liar.